Right, we're back. Today we're going to have a play about and try and recreate this effect. Some of you on the Facebook groups might have seen Artes Anclaf. This will be a collaboration with him. So we're just going to try with two techniques today. We're going to use alcohol inks and we're going to use pigment pastes. So I'll pop his YouTube channel in the description. He's going to be uploading lots more content and I really love his art, so I thought I'd give it a try with a collaboration. So I've got my resin already mixed up, which is the Resin 1-1 we're going to be using today. And with that resin, we're going to be using the Armor Art pigment pastes. I do have a 20% discount code for you guys to use. That'll be in the description as well. Really good for the company to offer you 20% off. And then for the alcohol ink version, we're going to be using the Resin Vibrant Alcohol Ink set. Again, everything I use will be in the description below. But as we're using alcohol inks, we do need to, this is the box set, we do need to make them opaque. So we're going to be adding the Sea Deeper white to our colours mixed with resin. So that in that bottle there is the Sea Deeper white. I've just put it in a needle tip bottle. So we've got our resin mixed, and today I'm going to be using the alcohol inks in this mould, and then I have this other mould which I'm going to be using the pigment pastes in. So we're going to be using piping bags as well, but I'll show you those when we get to it. So we're just going to start pouring our resin into the mould ready. Whilst I'm doing this, just a thank you for new subscribers, returning subscribers, to those who have bought me a coffee. It's very much appreciated. If you do decide you want to buy me a coffee, the link's in the description if you find my tutorials are helping. To those who have helped support, I will pop your name as usual in the community tab. And also a massive shout out to my new members. Again, if you do decide you want to become a member to get your comment badge, that is also in the description. And in case you haven't already guessed, this is a voiceover because there was a lot of background noise. So I really needed to get this video up and ready, so I've had to voice over and edit out the background noise just to make it a clean video for you. So we're just going for the 6 in this mould. The 2 ovals, the 2 round and the 2 hearts. And I'm just going to randomly point at what I don't know. I'm not sure what I was pointing at. So I've got my mixing cups ready for my pigment pastes. I'm going to be doing the pigment paste first. And I'll show you just how I mix up the pigments with the resin ready to use. So I'm just going to fill these mixing cups up. I'm probably putting around about 10 grams of resin in each one. I'll put out one extra shot glass, but I decided to use that one with the alcohol inks instead. You can also use other pigments for this. It should work with acrylic paints, mica powders. I haven't tried them yet, but it's all about waiting for the resin to get to the right consistency, the right kind of thickness, so that the technique can work and that the pigments don't sink in the resin. So now we've got our resin poured into our cups, we need to start adding the pigment pastes. Like I said, there's about 10 grams in each cup. So we're going to go in with the pink pigment paste first, and we're just going to dab just a small amount, as you can see, onto the end of my stirring stick. And then we're just going to mix that thoroughly in with the resin. We kind of paused the camera after each cup and just gave it a bigger stir off camera just so it didn't take up so much time. So just make sure you give it a really good stir, and always make sure that you clean your stick thoroughly before moving to the next colour, because you don't want them mixing. So now we're going to make our purple. So we're going to add the pink pigment paste first, just a small amount, less than the original cup, the first cup that we did. And then we're just going to stir that pink in thoroughly before then adding our blue. Definitely feels strange doing a voiceover and not actually, doesn't feel like I'm in the video with you. But there will be some crazy effects with this technique, some great results. So I've now got my blue pigment paste, again, similar amounts of the pink. And we're just going to stir that in and mix it together to create our purple. Like so. Again, make sure you mix them thoroughly and then clean your stick every time. Now we're going to go in with some yellow. These pigment pastes are already opaque, so we don't need to mix any white with them. So again, just thoroughly mix your pigments in with the resin. And then what we do is we pour these into piping bags where they'll rest for about an hour to an hour and a half. And then for the last cup, we're just going to go with some white on its own. You have to forgive me, this white is really difficult to get out of the bottle, so I did struggle a bit. It finally decided it wanted to come out. Again, just a small amount. This is very similar to the technique that you'd use for flowers, which I'll be doing a tutorial on for my next video. Again, just mix that in thoroughly. I just hope I can pull this off. The piece that I showed at the start of the video is my only attempt, so this is only my second attempt at actually making these. And I'm voiceovering this first part whilst it's curing, so I don't even know the results myself yet. So fingers crossed. So I've got my piping bag. I'm going to cut that down just to make it easier to pour the pigment pastes in. If it's too big, then the resin and the pigments will just stick to the side of the bag, and you kind of want it as far down the bag as possible. I'm only going to show you pouring one into one bag just to cut down time, and I'll come back once they're all done. But we need to make sure we wrap these bags quite tightly so that it kind of doesn't, as you're applying pressure to the bag, it doesn't actually come out the back of the bag itself. So I secure these once wrapped with a paper clip just to keep them more secure. And I did come back to this one and gathered the end up a little bit more just to make sure it doesn't kind of drag into my work as I'm working with it. So once wrapped, I put them all inside a tall cup just so that they're standing upwards. And there they are, all sitting in the cup, ready to sit and wait for the right consistency to work with. So now we're going to mix in the alcohol inks. Like I said, we need to make these alcohol inks opaques. I have opaque alcohol ink, but I wanted to try and do this with standard inks mixed with the white. If you do decide you want to try it with opaque inks, you can just use those. I've never actually tried this before, so we'll see what happens. So I've put, I think, around 5 drops of colour. I can't remember how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do add some more white. And again, just make sure you thoroughly mix the two together. The colour will kind of cling to the side of the cup. So just make sure you mix it in thoroughly around the sides. and you kind of want it to be less translucent and more opaque. So I decided that I needed more white in this, so I just added some more alongside some more colour. So that was another 3 drops of the colour. And then another few drops of the white. And again, just mix that in thoroughly. Scrape around the sides. And again, once mixed, just make sure you clean your stick before moving on. Now we're going to go in with some purple. So I'm going to try and use the same colours that I used with the pigment paste, but with the alcohol inks, just to see what the difference is with the results. Just remember, the pigment paste will be more light fast than the alcohol inks, especially now we've made these opaque. They can bleach a lot quicker in the sun, so just bear that in mind. I decided to go with the pigment pastes just for that reason, but if you do look after alcohol inks, they can last a long time. You just need good aftercare, really. Like I've said to many people, you wouldn't hang a watercolour in the sun on a wall near a window, the same as you wouldn't really want to sit these on a windowsill or hanging on your dressing table in direct sunlight. So now we're going in with our yellow. Again, I think I added about 5 to 7 drops of yellow alcohol ink in there. And we're just going to, again, match it to begin with the same amount of drops as the colour with the white. And we're just going to give that a thorough mix in as well. And some other news, Let's Resin have given me a 10% discount code for my viewers. That will be in the description as well. For the UK, I think the 10% only works for resin at the moment. And for the US, there are 2 codes. One code will be for resin and pigments and inks, and there will be a separate code for molds and equipment. Again, I'll pop those in the video description. Hopefully they're working at the moment. If not, I do apologise, but they will be up and running as soon as possible. So now we're just mixing in our Sea White Deeper on its own. Again, you will find the ink will want to kind of cling to the side of the cup, so just make sure you really work that in. I just added some more to make it more opaque. And what I will also be doing with this video is my giveaway. So I will choose at random somebody who comments in the comment section, and I will send them one of these pieces made into a pendant free of charge. I've done similar on TikTok, and I basically count all the comments up into like a number. So say on TikTok, for example, I had 250 comments. I will then load a random selector wheel on my phone, and then just input the numbers and just select, it will choose a winner for me once I've spun the wheel. So they're all set now in the cup. Now what we need to do is let these sit and wait until the consistency is right. And I just test, they will get warm, so I kind of work with them when they get to a kind of warm temperature. So this stage I've sped up because it was in total 30 minutes long. What I also did before this was just put a tiny amount of the white in one of the molds and watched it for just a couple of minutes to make sure that it didn't sink. So it's always a good idea just to test it. You could have a tester piece on the side and just test it that way. So you'd leave it for a couple of minutes just to see if that small sample sinks, and if it doesn't, you're good to go. So I'm kind of just making these up as I go along. I kind of wanted to try mini flowers as well as Artes's usual pieces, but obviously I can't create as stunning pieces as he does, so I'm just randomly playing around with different ideas that I had at the time. Some may turn out good, some may turn out funny, we'll see at the end. So with this one I just decided to do a spiral with the white, purple and yellow, and then just drew, don't go too deep, just drag the stick across the surface. And for this one I went for more of an Artes Anclaf design. You've probably seen them on the Facebook groups. They're really cool, the way that they kind of weave. Took me a long time to study and try to work out exactly how he created this, and it's just amazing. For this one I've decided to go up the heart instead of across. Your lines don't have to be perfect, kind of just draw the colours through the piece. The more you try, the better they'll get. And then I'm just stirring them from side to side to give that kind of really cool, crazy effect. And for this one I decided just to go with the heart shape itself and then see what I can kind of mix to create some kind of design. And what I'll do at the end is I'll add some black to the backs of some, and I'll keep some clear. So we're now on to the alcohol inks. I'm just, again, I've sped this up because nobody would want to sit and watch this for 30 minutes, trust me. So this one's similar effect to the other one that I did, and this one I'm literally just making up as I go along. It's always fun to just make things up as you go along and kind of see what the end result is like. Then I just give this a swirl, and it did end up giving quite a good effect. Now for these two I kind of just rushed a design in. I was getting rather tired at this point and my back was beginning to hurt, so I kind of just rushed these two. I didn't really know what I could do with these, so I just swirled them. So I'm not too hopeful with those two. And for these two hearts I kind of just mimicked again the technique and the design that Artes has done with his pieces. So kind of down in the center and then up either side. And the same with this one, down the center and up each side. Now what I'm going to do is add some black alcohol ink to the back of some of them, not all of them, because I want to see what they come out like clear. Now for these pigment paste ones I was going to mix some black pigment paste with resin once it was set, but I kind of wanted them all to cure at the same time, so I decided just to be kind of lazy in a way and just use black alcohol ink in these just to give that black background, because I wanted the demold to build at the same time and not kind of waiting around for another layer of resin to cure on the back. But obviously it will give exactly the same results as it would have if I'd used the black pigment paste. So I'm just dropping the black alcohol ink over the back just to get as good coverage as I can. And it's always good to come back after say 30 minutes and just check if you've got any negative space. Just add some more black alcohol ink. And you could also, if you decided to, you could, with the pieces that I haven't added black to, I mean I could always add some black acrylic paint afterwards and put a layer of resin over the top of the acrylic paint after. So again, I'm keeping a couple of these clear just to see what the results are like. And again, like I said, I can always add a layer of black afterward. Right, here we are for the demold, the exciting part of any tutorial. I'm going to start with the alcohol inks first. And this was the typical Artes style, Artes Anclaf. You can see the yellow's kind of gone a bit green with the black background, but it still works really well. And this one looks a little bit messy, but it's still really cool effect inside. Kind of just played about with this one, but it still looks really cool. I like it. And these were the ones that I kind of rushed, but they came out really well. Still some really good detail in there. It's really cool. and this was the clear one. Again, I kind of just swirled it around. You can see there's a couple of bubbles in there, but it doesn't matter. I'll show you against what it would look like with a black background. And like I said, this will be a giveaway, so I will select a random commenter, but just be careful because I won't reply to your comment saying that you're a winner, because there have been some fraud accounts set up and they post reply comments saying you're a winner with a bad link. So this was a good heart one. Again, typical of Artes Anclaf's work and style. This is the last clear one with the alcohol inks. Again, some really cool effects. The yellow actually stands out. It still kind of goes a little bit grainy against the black card, but the effect is there. Yeah, so just be careful. I'll announce the winner in the community tab 4 weeks from the date of posting this. So just keep an eye out in that community tab for me. I love this one. It's a little bit messy in the bottom left, but it's still really good. I will play about with smaller flowers in pendants. Maybe try adding more leaves, but it was kind of just a play about today. Again, if you haven't subbed, guys, hit that button in the bottom right corner. Help support the channel grow. You can see my resin's still a little bit bendy, but it's fine to demold. I'm not quite sure what this one looks like. But again, up against the black card. It's just a play around, really. And again, let me know what you think in the comments, and also obviously your comments will enter you into the giveaway. I love this one. It's so clear. Again, the yellows kind of looks a bit greeny, but I actually prefer it like this. Right, the last two. These again are typical Artes Anclaf style. Be sure to give him a follow. He's Spanish speaking, but hopefully the captions will translate to English when he starts making more tutorials. You should hopefully see more of his creation in the Facebook groups as well. And this is the one where I went from side to side. Absolutely love this detail. I can't wait to try more. A couple of small bubbles on the front, as you can see, but nothing to worry about too much. Right, so here they all are, side by side. Alcohol inks versus pigment pastes. Again, you can use different pigments and maybe micas. Absolutely love this one. Again, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Give us a thumbs up and comment, and follow Artes Anclaf.